So I'm purposely just turning on the camera and starting. So camera, yeah, look at the camera. So I should be looking there. So I'm talking to you. This is what you look like. So, okay, what am I trying to say here? I'm bummed that the last AI thing we did failed. I'm embarrassed how bummed I am. Let me take you back about 1,000 years. So years ago, my friend and I, George Todorovski, let me make that grammar proper. Years ago, my friend George Todorovski and I did this comic. It's about actually, hang on, I'm gonna go get it. So here it is, a bit folded. It's an indie comic that we did. It's a photocopy zine. Is that going to come into focus at all? Sorry, the best lighting in the house is in the garage. Otherwise, I get kind of crappy library lighting. You know, I've never liked this cover because, like, I did the drawing of our warriors, right? You can't really see that. And that looks like shit. Like, George, again, straight in ink, did this great background. And then I did this shitty, like, is he supposed to be floating? Is he falling? Is he shooting up? So basically the idea of the idea of the comic is it's these warriors, they've never seen bubbles before, so they pop them. For 60 pages. Yeah, that's it. Just for 60 pages. Just guys have never seen bubbles before, so they do everything in their power to destroy them, which basically makes them pop. I was so outclassed by George. I mean, you can see I got all these weird drawings around me. In fact, that right there, that's actually the sock design. That's the design of the warriors. I also have it over here as well on the wall. And this down here is George, by the way. This is George, some of George's sketches. And this was one of our posters that we put up in indie comic stores. Like years ago, like George had a sketch of some weird warrior, and I was like, oh my god, we should do. I don't know why I said we should do those guys popping bubbles. But anyway, so I did my version of his design, and clearly the design is not good. Like, it was sort of cone bucket heads made of concrete and these sort of weird jaw guys that I draw. And George would like add all these nice little sci-fi, little, you know, greeble flourishes, something that I couldn't think of. And again, straight in ink. You know, I did the pencils, and George did a lot of the backgrounds straight in ink. He pointed out that he didn't always do them straight in ink, but a lot of the time, he just to save time, he would draw them straight in ink. And I have a strange way of penciling, so he would. Poor guy had to ink over my pencils. This is how I draw kind of weird. Actually, that's Hachig. That's a sketch of Hachig for Hachig and Sinclair. Again, I'm a mixture of kind of scribbly and not scribbly. And yes, I did use myself for reference. Oh my god, it's like my head just dropped into a puddle of me. So, Feet, the guy who I do this YouTube channel with, he did a CG version of them, of what he saw in the comic. So I took some screenshots of that. Now, again, because the face and the jaw of what I designed, it doesn't really work. I took a sculpture I did, and I drew some eyelashes and some irises on it, and then I ran that through kreaai. I got some interesting results, but my style is just, it comes off weird in Runway. Well, that's not encouraging. I was fiddling around with taking pictures of old action figures and then running them through kreaai a few times to make them look a bit more realistic, like stylized realism. I tried to take a screenshot of that and run that through Runway, and then Runway understandably found it confusing. So I've done so many versions of these over the years. I'm thinking there's got to be a way to do this. So I went into Midjourney, and you know, it's re-rolling like for days, literally for days. I've had some luck before making some of my stuff in Midjourney, but this time Yeah, this time. So it was these concrete warriors. You know, we grew up in Scarborough, and my dad was a construction worker, so it was like concrete mixed with construction materials and stuff like that. Worn out, like old leather gloves, although it kept making them monkey hands for some reason. You know, again, concrete construction boots, so don't know why I have my hands up for that long. When it came to the helmet, I got kind of close, but it's more of a problem when you try to put it all together. We were trying to design this, and, you know, I was getting elements in midjourney that I like, but I couldn't get them together. So, you know, I was trying to cobble them together in Photoshop. But then once I put it in Runway, I kept making like some of the helmet, kept making it cloth because it didn't understand the concrete bucket cone. Again, because the design is not great, which is me. I made the design not great. Got my hands up again. I don't know. I seem to think that's entertaining. Oh, one thing Fee pointed out was that midjourney or Runway seemed to think that it was Warhammer because of the mud that it kept putting on, even though I thought that looked really cool. Because I'm still trying to figure out what the background was like. Like, again, George drew that background. I thought he drew it straight in ink, and he says he didn't. So every time we kept trying to animate it or move it, it kept fucking up. In the past, we would have either keyframed it.
Do it again. Rip it.
Or, you know, for the Inhuman Rights Attorney, we used a Rococo mocap suit. Shh, I think he's napping. I am a zombie. But in all honesty, that's kind of expensive and time consuming. Like, I had done stuff on Goat's Beard Fluffy where I was able to hold a stick or a staff.
I rest my trunk on my haunches and then stiffen.
I tried to do that same thing, and I went out to the garage and, you know, took some video footage of myself, and I tried to put it into Runway Act 2. And, yeah, it didn't work. Never mind how we're going to do the bubbles popping. I got no idea. Another friend of mine, who he doesn't want to be named because, you know, he wants to keep off the internet because, you know, just because you're paranoid. He got something kind of useful in Comfy, and Fee set up Comfy for me. In fact, he set it up like literally with notes so I would understand. But, you know, I would see that float chart and those little wires sticking into other and all the spaghetti, and then I would just start to cry. Another friend of mine, Romano, I better ask him before I use this. He made some Star Trek characters, and he said there are ways to do turntables of them. Like if you prompt it that they walk forward and then turn around, that maybe Runway or other AIs will understand it better. So maybe I'll try that. But again, I was pretty bummed out that this didn't work. I'm embarrassed how depressed I got. I think it's because I worked so hard on them, and I've had them for years, and they're kind of, you know, they're kind of important to me. I know they're my weird little warrior design I've had for a very long time. In fact, I even got my job in LA with a demo reel of them. Okay, no more whining. Thanks for taking a look, and back to the drawing board. Back to Jack Kirby drawing board. Even as a Jack Kirby drawing, I've still got double chin. Oh, there's a grasshopper on the window. Ooh. See, that's you, and there's the grasshopper.